Hello, it is day 308 on the fight to raise awareness about Stop Asian Hate. People still don't understand that it's a problem that Asians are impacted, actually around the world, but I'm more specifically talking about America. And today is National Day of Racial Healing. And I was reading something. It's like, how are you feeling? Well, um, today on LinkedIn, I was reading an Asian posted a death of Michelle Go, who was one of the many Asians who've been pushed on the tracks. But she died. And so this Asian guy was sharing about it in an article about what happened. And this other guy gets on there and says, why you can't use her death, politically and to say this. And, why has it got to be about race? And just nonsense. You're being so divisive by sharing her death. And there's just so much gaslighting. I think that he removed himself from that conversation. I think what's great about the person who posted this is he has a network of people who acknowledge and say, no, you're gaslighting and that is not appropriate and all that. So that is great that Jerry has earned that. So I don't have that. My networks are, for the most part, absolutely silent. So I'm working on that. Do you know how many Asians were killed in the last 2 months for being Asian in America? A lot. It does not make the news. I believe that this particular death made it into the news like a couple of times, which is good. It's a struggle. It's a struggle every day to hear about politicians calling Asian Americans yellow people. And, also having this Texas representative, salon stylist run for office, and she wants to ban Chinese students. And then you have, it's Asian broadcasters, you have people, audience members saying, that's very Asian. You're very Asian of her in an insulting kind of way. And then, of course, I think some of you have heard of Michelle Lee, and she is Korean, and one of the listeners told her to keep her Koreanness to herself. And it's just constant. Every day there's a new story, so you can learn constantly how that works. And it's frustrating. There are a handful of Asians who are speaking out loud, but not a lot of people are listening. Not a lot. I remember being on listening to at least 300 panels and then also speaking myself. And you look out at the audience and it's just Asians, maybe one Black person there, but it's just basically Asians. And it's like, who are the people who can make a big difference? That's the majority. That's white people who can make a tiny little effort to make this big collective difference. But it's tough because where are they? So after about 275 days in my journey to raise awareness and to gain support to help Asians and to protect, let people know what's going on, I've decided people just don't care. We're just not seen as humans as the rest of everybody. And that's just what it is. That's perpetual foreigner. And there's nothing, I don't know how to do anything about that. I've learned all the ways to be ineffective, done it, been there. So I'll continue looking of how to be effective. And I think it's really talking about money. So when people are not concerned about Asians and about their welfare and that they can just be hurt right in front of people and people watch, we got to go somewhere different and talk about their pocketbook. So I've began talking about how it's profitable to market to Asians and Asian Americans, that Asian Americans make the highest income, also the lowest income. So there's a wide range, but have a lot of spending power and fastest growing population, et cetera. So there's a lot of reasons for this to get into this untapped market. So I think that's going to be very effective. And then teaching companies how to be Asian inclusive. Yes, we would love if they were inclusive of all people, but let's be realistic. So people, they just group in Asians as a big, huge, all these 48 countries with all the people of color. So that's like a lot of people, and it's very different. So, anyways, I do have a little hope for talking about money to get people's attention, um, because of the heavy, everlasting silence from nice people in my social network, and outright hateful people. I've created Empowered Asians, which is a support group for Asians to be in and share what they're feeling and not have to code switch. And then Asian allies for people who are well meaning people who just don't know. And how would you know? So it's a safe place to make mistakes, to learn, to listen. Um, and that gives me hope. And so we're doing something there. And coming up, also giving me hope, is white people doing something. This is a Facebook group of 40,000 people who are active and are making small efforts to look at their own bias and to make changes and to have tough conversations. And one of Asian allies referred me to them. So we're having a Facebook Live chat. So that is encouraging because I feel like if some people knew what was happening, then they would make a difference. And I think this group, I think would can make a difference. So that is hopeful. So that's how I'm feeling. I am going to update the timeline of attacks because I missed like 12 murders at least in the last couple of months, and so I'm going to put those up there and post articles about the way non-murders also about how people are gaslighting and just being outright racist and people not understanding that it's racist. So on my website, jolenejiang.com, there's all these free resources like what is Stop Asian Hate? Why does it matter? And um, all the things you can learn if you wish. There's a lot of fantastic, really helpful videos and podcasts by Asian Americans, and they're listed. There's a whole library on jolenejiang.com. So be courageous, make a mistake. We appreciate that. So thank you. That's my update.